LCR. Hey everybody, thank you for joining us today on the Concealed Carry channel. I'm Grant McLean. I got a fun review for you today. This was definitely an exciting review for me to take part of, and that is for the Ruger LCR. So we're going to jump into this, but right before we jump to this, guys, I want to give a big thank you to the folks over at Northwest Armory. They have been helping us out immensely with providing firearms for our honest reviews. This way you know that I don't have any manufacturers putting little birds in my ears saying, hey, say this, say that, whatever about our products, and we're giving it to you straight off the cuff because we're getting it from a third party. So with that being said, if you are in search of a firearm or need a firearm sent to your local FFL, just go to nwarmory.com. You can find your firearm you're looking for there, have it shipped to your local FFL. They're wonderful with doing that. If you happen to pop in the store, tell them that Grant over the Concealed Carry channel sent you. They'll make sure to take care of you. And of course, if Khaki is there because he's such a good doggy, make sure to say hi to him and pet him lots. Anyways, I'm super excited to get this into my hands because it's one of those, I don't want to say necessarily revolutionary, but it's almost like the next evolution of revolvers. And what I'm talking about here is the LCR and how it uses multiple different types of modern materials, not just wood and stainless steel when they build this. So let's go ahead and do the unboxing of this so you guys can see, all right, what's this going to be like if I were to purchase this gun from the store, okay? So let's go ahead and pop this baby open. All right, so what you're going to find in here is you're going to find a little Ruger soft case there, and inside that soft case, you're going to find the LCR. Now, the one that we have here today, this is chambered in 38 plus P, okay? This is also chambered in 22 long rifle, 22 Magnum, 9mm, 357, and 327 Magnum as well. So the one that we have here today is the 38 plus P, all right? So with the firearm, you're also going to get a little envelope that has the spent shell from your test fire from the factory. You're going to get the Ruger lock kit. You'll have a few other pieces of literature, and that's about it. So it's pretty straightforward. No extra bells and whistles with this revolver, and really not any extra bells and whistles needed, okay? Now, pop that cylinder open, and you'll see here you have kind of the little safety disc, as you will find like safety flags basically in other semi-auto guns. So let's talk about this gun a little bit, kind of dissect the specs on this one, all right? So the LCR is chambered in 38 plus P. That's what we have here today. This has a 5-round cylinder, as you can see right there, okay? This has a 1.87 inch barrel. You could call it a 2-inch or a 1.9 inch barrel is what I wrote it down at. For the most part, people are going to call this a stub nose or a compact size revolver, and I would definitely agree with that, okay? This has a height of 4.5 inches. It has a length of 6.5 inches, and the width here is 1 1/4 inches. Actually, it's just a tiny bit more, but it's not quite 1.3 inches. It's like 1.8, or I'm sorry, 1.28, okay? So it's a fairly thin gun, you know, and I think a lot of that is due, because the thickest part is the cylinder here, is the fact that this has a 5-shot cylinder, okay? So the weight on this is going to be 13.5 ounces, so less than a pound, empty, okay? So let's do what we usually do and kind of start at the top and go down from there. So these sights, you have a ramped front sight, and it does have some serrations in there to help with the glare. And then on the back, you have a integrated U-notch rear sight, okay? Now, this front sight, okay, and you can see they kind of follow the same angle here. So what I found is, under certain light conditions, is if you're getting glare off the back, you're getting glare kind of off the front, even with those serrations, because they kind of follow this same angle down, okay? So Ruger talks about this on their website and how they have a pinned removable front sight. So I think even they know you're probably going to replace this, and I know a lot of people do. They do a tritium front sight, they do a fiber optic front sight, something to kind of break up the black on black kind of the front and rear sight, so you can really decipher which one is which, you know, really pick up that front sight easily. I will tell you this, when shooting it, if you have the time, okay, this is a fairly accurate gun. I mean, I had no problem hitting wherever I wanted to hit on the target, whenever I wanted to hit it, if I had the time to really get that front sight position perfect in that U notch in the back. So I really did appreciate that, especially out of a barrel that's less than 2 inches long. So really impressed as far as that goes. So the rear sights, I would, if I was buying this, plan on replacing that front, or at least getting some sort of color on there so I can pick that front sight up fairly quickly, okay? Now, what I was talking about earlier is this has multiple materials that they use when they build this gun, okay? So the frame here, they call this a monolithic frame, okay? Now, on the 22 long rifle, the 22 Magnum, and the 38 plus P, this monolithic frame is aluminum. It's an aerospace grade aluminum, okay? Now, on the 357, 9mm, and the 327 Magnum, it's actually made out of stainless steel, okay? Now, the cylinder is steel, the trigger is steel, and of course the barrel is steel. Now, outside of that, what holds the rest of the components, this is polymer, okay? And that's one of the reasons why I think this is so light. I mean, this thing is significantly less than a pound. I mean, it's 13.5 ounces, you know? So they have multiple different materials that they're using when they built this gun. And, you know, I'll talk about this here in the fit and finish, is how nicely they put that all together. So I do really like that concept, and it's very cool, especially if you're, you know, used to black guns. You know, you're not looking for the shiny, polished, you know, stainless steel and wood handles. You're looking for something that's a little bit more tactical looking, or you know, more something that's going to match maybe, you know, your Glock. You want the revolver to match the Glock, so, you know, you might grab, you know, this to match your Glock. You know, it's like, oh yeah, I only get black guns. Well, whatever, cool. So this might be a really good fit for you, you know. As you can see, the hammer on these are trimmed off, you know. This is a double action only gun. Okay, there is no cocking back the hammer on this guy. Okay, so let's talk about the cylinder release here, okay? Now, let me go ahead and turn that. So you can see the cylinder release is within thumb's reach. I do have to move my thumb a little bit, kind of reposition my grip a small amount to be able to manipulate that cylinder release. But after a little practice, not a big deal. This is not necessarily one of those guns that I find, you know, you're going to be popping that out. This is not a race gun or anything, you know, so for them making this smaller, it made sense to me, because this is meant to be a very tight, small gun. Everything's kind of smoothed over, so it kind of made sense that they didn't make this, you know, cylinder release that big. It works fine, you know, you just kind of have to reposition your hands. And I did find that with the cylinder itself, I do have to push on the opposite side to kind of flick that out, okay? And sometimes the shells will eject completely on one push, okay? So you do have to kind of tilt it up, push down firmly, quickly, to get those shells out. I noticed that at the range when I was shooting this, I would maybe get 4 out of the 5 that came out all the way. Sometimes I would get all 5 that were like 90% out of the way, but they were just stuck in there, so I'd have to give it a quick little shake and they'd fall out. So it's just, would I count on them coming out perfectly on their own? No, I wouldn't, you know. But at the same time, you know, controlled environment, indoor range, I don't want to necessarily take this gun, pop it open, and be pointing this, you know, directly straight up. You know, you want to point your firearms down range. So that was one of the things. Is I think that if I was in an outdoor range or something like that, going like this, popping it down, they would certainly come out a lot more consistently. Okay, so with that being said, if it was me, there is a nice shape to this monolithic frame back here and around the cylinder release, and I think if they would have taken that into consideration with this cylinder release and made it just a little bit bigger, but it still complemented that shape, I think that would have been a really, really nice touch to the gun. Okay, now the grip. This is the Hogue Tamer grip, and I really like Hogue grips. I have a Hogue grip on my 627 V Comp right there, and I really like it a lot. Even though, you know, my pinky is off, I didn't really care, you know. Of course, you don't want to have, in my opinion, a full-size grip. You know, I wouldn't want a grip like this on this gun. That kind of would defeat the purpose of having it be small, snub nose, concealed. I definitely wouldn't want that, okay? But you know, as far as recoil management, the grip does a fantastic job. Love the finger grooves. Even as my palms were getting sweaty, no big deal. And, you know, your grip does come nice and high up under the trigger guard even. And this is a big trigger guard too, which I really like. But your grip definitely comes up nice and high. The recoil is actually very manageable with such a small gun. I was surprised, to say the least, how manageable the recoil was. But when you're firing this round after round quickly, okay, because we did do my usual 3, 5, 7, and 10 yards, okay? We did the 5 shots in 2 seconds. I found that as... So you can see the 3 yard, 5 yard, okay? These groups are fairly small, okay? But I found, and this has, you know, and I'll take blame for this too, has a lot to do with experience with this gun. But they started to, you know, drift downward, okay? And then at the 10 yards, I mean, some are down here, all right? And at 10 yards, I mean, for a 1.9-inch barrel gun, when you're shooting it 5 shots, 2 seconds, I would say that is pushing the gun kind of to, it's starting to get to that gun's limit, especially with the, you know, the recoil is manageable, but when you're firing, when you're off just a tiny bit out of this, it exponentially is very far off. At 30 feet. So, I mean, you know, I'll take all the blame on that. But nonetheless, I don't know that this would be a gun that I would ever consider to be an offensive gun. Definitely defensive gun, okay? So, with that being said, you know, in my experience with the 3, 5, 7, and 10 yard, 5 shot in 2 seconds, my hands didn't, you know, they're not gnarled up, nothing. You know what I mean? I could have done this drill again and again and again all day long. I don't think that my hands weren't tired. They weren't sore. You know, I've seen some reviews and people say, oh my gosh, the recoil is crazy. you know, I think a lot of that has to do with proper grip placement, and you know, just like many a times with accuracy and people talking about the fact that their hands hurt or the recoil or the kick is unmanageable. I think a lot of that has to do with, one, experience with the gun, and then also just having proper grip placement and a nice strong grip, not weak wrists. Okay, so you know, if that's something you're concerned about and you're not used to firing a revolver, you know, even ask your local like range master or firearm instructor, how should you grip this gun? Because a grip on this is going to be different than what you're normally used to if you're running a semi-automatic or a 1911 or something like that. Okay, so you want to make sure that you have proper grip. And you know, even my 357, the 44 Magnum, stuff like that, I could shoot those all day long, and that's because I have proper grip, and basically I learned that and I was taught that. Okay, so make sure that you do get the same thing too. Okay, but I do really like the grip. Okay, so big plus with that. You can replace the grips on these if the Hogue is maybe too rubbery and it tends to stick to your clothing, or it tends to stick inside your pocket, or whatever it might be. You can certainly change that out. Okay, the LCR does have some accessories and aftermarket parts for it. Like I said, the front sight is one of those things that people tend to replace. Okay, now here is my big negative about the gun. Okay, the trigger. Now, I should say this. Okay, Ruger has a patented friction reducing cam. Okay, this trigger pull is incredibly smooth. It's a long trigger pull, not a big deal for me because this has no safeties. Okay, so I understand the long trigger pull, and I can somewhat appreciate that long trigger pull. Okay, let me show you what I'm talking about right now. Okay, let's pull up the target here again. Now you'll see this 3-yard only has 4 shots. Okay, I pulled the trigger 5 times, but only 4 shots came out. Okay, what happened, right? Well, I'm going to show you real quick. Now, if you're used to a semi-automatic gun, okay, and you know, even if you have a long double action trigger, right? So if you have a long double action trigger, okay, you'll see you're going to pull that and click. Okay, trigger breaks, and then you're going to get the reset. Okay, watch this. As you go, you can actually feel the internals kind of moving inside this trigger, and then all of a sudden it gives. Okay, and you can hear the click. Now, that's not the actual reset. Okay, so if you watch this, I'll pull the trigger again. Cylinder turns, no firing. Okay, reset, nothing. Okay, the reset is not actually there, it's here, all the way up, which is silly to me. I mean, that little bit of difference versus that, okay? So you almost have to consciously make sure that you take your finger up and off the trigger and back down. Because if you're used to feeling, okay, the trigger break, reset, that click, and where you feel that kind of spring give, and you're ready for the next shot, okay, what you're going to do is you're going to prematurely pull that trigger all the time. And I can't tell you, okay, and this was after, okay, so this was after I had shot this gun. I had probably put 50 rounds through this gun, kind of getting used to the sights there. And when it came time to go bam, 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 it, where I thought that reset was, it wasn't. Okay, The problem for me is if you are on so you have 5 cylinders, okay? If you shoot cylinder 1 and you skip cylinder 2 and you fire, cylinder 1 has already been fired. So you now pull the trigger again to get back to cylinder 2 if you want to shoot that, okay? But in my experience with other guns, that was really a problem, because when you're used to that reset and that click and you feel that give right there, that was a bummer. So if you're going to consider purchasing this gun, one, I would highly recommend that you find a local range or someone who has this, who's going to allow you to shoot it, okay? And you have to make a conscious effort to completely let that trigger reset all the way. You can't really go by a feeling like what you'd normally have with your other semi-automatic guns, okay? So for me, that was a kind of the end of the honeymoon stage, because I opened it up, opened the box. Oh my gosh, I've been wanting to see one of these and shoot one of these for a long time, you know, because I love the look and I love kind of the whole concept of it and how it's like the new age, modern age of concealed snub-nose revolver. And then when I got to the range and I started putting rounds down it, I was like, uh-oh. You know what I mean? The honeymoon phase was over. My wife is not who she says she is. I married an axe murderer. So that was kind of the thing, is I was like, oh, shoot. You know what? I don't know that I'm really feeling this gun, okay? Let's talk about ergonomics and the fit and finish, okay? So ergonomic-wise, very smooth, very comfortable, very light. This is going to fit in a lot of different holsters, and that's one of the things that I like about the smaller, compact, snub-nose revolvers, is a lot of these will actually share holsters with others. So if you have like a Smith & Wesson snub-nose, more than likely this is going to fit in there. This will fit into a lot of different universal, like ankle holsters, belly bands, things like that, pocket holsters and such. This will fit really well with those. And because everything's kind of smoothed over, you're not going to have really any snags as far as that goes. So I really do like the ergonomics. Like I said earlier, I love this grip. The grip is fantastic. And if you're not in love with this grip, don't worry about it. Grips are not expensive and they're easily replaceable on this firearm. As far as the fit and finish goes, you'll see on this gun where the polymer meets the aluminum, and there's not any wiggling gaps. There's nothing on this that makes you feel like this is not built well. You know, I feel like a lot of people who want a well-built gun tend to go towards revolvers because they're heavy and wood, and they feel like if I run out of ammo, I'm just gonna beat them with it. This is a solid gun. It's lightweight, but overall, like, I don't feel that this would just come apart, even though there's multiple different materials being used in building this. So I really like the fit and finish of this, and the aesthetics are fantastic. I really, want to love this gun, but, I'll be honest with you guys, again, that trigger really, to me, is a deterrent for me. Now, for you, may not be such a big deal. Like I said, if you can get your hands on one at the range and shoot it, of course, decide for yourself. But, if I was spending, the MSRP on this is $579. If I was spending the $579, I would consider spending, or at least looking at spending a little bit more, and take a look at the Smith & Wesson Airweight, their hammerless revolvers as well. I'd throw that into the mix too. So that's my personal opinion, though. You know what I mean? on the firearm itself. But yeah, if you guys get a chance, definitely try to find one at your local range if it's something that you are heavily considering. I will tell you this, man, this thing is such a looker. Gosh, I just want to love it so bad. But you know what? After the honeymoon phase, not for me personally, okay? But I do want to thank you guys again for joining us today on the Concealed Carry channel. I hope that the information that I gave you, even though it wasn't the proper fit for me, you were able to gather the relevant information that you needed to make an educated decision on this, whether or not it's going to be a good fit for you and your pocketbook, okay? So make sure to hit that like and subscribe, and of course, comment. You know, if you have one of these or you're considering getting one of these, I want to hear from you. You know, if you know, maybe this trigger, there was something wrong with it. I don't know. You know, it's not like I have a whole batch of them that I get to just pick into and test them all out side by side. But if you have one, definitely tell me, like, what was the thing that made you buy it? And, you know, does a trigger bother you? And stuff like that, you know? Is the honeymoon phase not over for you? Do you love it so much? So I definitely want to hear from that. Make sure you hit that subscribe. I have a really cool video coming out here soon on another very hard to find gun on the market. And I know a lot of people have been considering this small micro compact pistol. So anyways, make sure that you hit that like, hit that subscribe, of course, comment, and share with all your friends, family, other concealed carry shoppers and enthusiasts as well. Helps out the channel a lot, and I can't wait to show you guys this next review coming up soon. That's not going on the bloopers, by the way.
People might appreciate it.
My mother would be dying. Is that Days of Our Lives? Victor. These are the days of our lives. I don't think that it's a bad gun. I just hate the reset on the trigger. I hate that. Okay. So. Ooh, that was a good pop. And the aesthetics are fantastic. As far as that goes. I want to flush this thing down the toilet, though. I think that it's really funny that on the barrel, they actually tell you read instructional manual. Sturm, Ruger Co., Newport, New Hampshire. I don't think I've ever had a gun where on the actual gun it says read the manual. I like that. So, on the 3, 5, 7, and 10 yards, I basically the bed. Oh my god. Yeah. So, if you're gonna break into my house and I have this thing, just make sure you're 10 yards or more. I probably won't hit you. You got a 70% chance of survival, for sure. Well, then again, I might only even hit you with like 3 out of the 5 bullets, depending on how I pull the trigger too, right? I might only even fire. Oh my god.